you check the children?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil, Laird.
Rob the Wolfman.
And I mean Fuego here.
And we are here to review the brand new creature feature that is finally a big budget theatrical creature feature. We haven't had one of these in a while, it feels like. And we're here to talk about Antlers.
Mm-hmm.
This is produced by Guillermo Del Toro, and I feel like you can feel that through the movie. And honestly, we're just going to do this like our normal reviews, our overall thoughts, then the story, acting, effects, all that good stuff in turn. And if I'm going to start off with my overall thoughts, I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a well-done film. I thought it was well-paced. I was a little frustrated in the first 20-25 minutes because I was like, wait, I thought this was supposed to be something different. And then it evolves, I should say.
Yeah.
And so it becomes something much cooler, in my opinion, and I very much liked the film. Robert?
I definitely enjoyed this movie. Okay, so I'm actually more familiar with the short story that this is based on. So looking at it as a nice expansion off of that and introducing some new characters and building off of the characters that we had from the film, this was really well done. And they captured the darkness and the gloominess of that story really well in this. Even some of our characters that we had, like I said, there was some change up with some of the characters, but they worked really well. But overall, I was definitely happy walking out of the film. Out of the theater from watching this, yes.
Oh yeah, so we're 3 for 3. Yeah, we liked one, everybody. And now don't go into this expecting you're gonna have a good time, because this is a dark, depressing movie. But damn, is it effective? I thought the acting from everybody was especially effective. Kerry Russell was great. It's been a minute since I've seen her in anything.
That's what her name
But,
was. I kept forgetting what the hell her name was.
Yeah, she is riveting in this. Between her performance and the woman from the Night House, whose name is eluding me, two of the best female performances.
Rebecca Hall, wasn't it?
I knew it was Rebecca something. Rebecca Hall, yeah, I think so. Yeah, but those two, I mean, Carrie's right there with the effectiveness of somebody who is kind of damaged and trying to pick up the pieces and has experienced abuse, and her connecting with this kid. I thought, oh man, this movie, it's gonna stick with me. Let's just put it that way, because it's wow, yeah, it's a heavy hitter.
So the story of the film is about this kid named Lucas. We pick up at a point in his life where things have taken a dramatic change based on the opening of the film. So something happens at the beginning. There's a boy and a father who is working in a mine. Whether he's mining or not, he is working in a mine. But he is attacked by something, and the boy goes in after him. And then we move over to Lucas at school. Very much an introverted kid, clearly, just sits to himself and has some drawing fun. Oh, I don't know that you'd call it fun, but just draws, I'm guessing, to work out a few issues. And the teacher, Kerry Russell, starts to take notice of him and why is he so withdrawn. She digs a little bit deeper and finds out that he's supposed to have, a brother around the same age and a father, but the mother has passed on, unfortunately. And so she's figuring out that there's some pieces not lining up. She starts to investigate, and things start to point in weird directions. And she has a brother that she's living with while she is trying to, as Fuego said, kind of pick up her own pieces from some obvious trauma that she's gone through. And he is brought in on this sort of investigation. They have to figure out what's going on, and they end up running afoul of this creature that is from Native American lore, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So we can say exactly what it is, but we're trying not to say exactly what it is, so you guys can kind of go on the journey yourselves. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed how the story played out. Again, I was frustrated at first because it was doing something for about 10-15 minutes that I was like, oh no, I hope it's not that. And then it definitely was not that. So I obviously can forgive that little dalliance of the story because it's part of the evolution of the story. So I really dug how the story played out and evolved over time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, again, like I was kind of talking about earlier, is I really liked how they expanded the short story. And it's a lot easier with short stories to expand on that universe versus taking an entire book and
having to
condense and pick and choose the best elements out of that world. And it just becomes a clusterfuck, and half the time it doesn't work out. So I really prefer these short story adaptations into movies. And this, again, it works out very well, especially with, like what Cecil was saying, with the progression of the story. You get a little bit more invested in your characters with backstories, past traumas, and everyone kind of having to work past all their own issues while helping this boy in his issues that are out coming up and everything with his family. Pacing with the story at times I did semi have an issue with. It got a little slow at times. I'm just like, it was a little sleepy. But I'm not gonna bullshit and everything. It was a long night.
But to that point, there were some sleepy points of like Candyman too.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean it detracts from the overall thing.
No, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, other than that, on that note, I'll leave it at that. Fuego, throw it over to you.
Yeah, the story was riveting for me, and as I was saying to Patrick from Allied, shout out to Tim for getting us awesome shirts and hooking us up with being able to see this early.
It's in the truck. Damn it.
But yeah, as I told him, it's interesting because this is really a rather relentless rumination on societal shortcomings in the way we ignore not just abuse of the earth, as they mentioned at the very beginning of the movie, but also abuse of children and just kind of turning a blind eye a little bit. It's a theme within this, both with Carrie's character as she has some recollections, and then also with Lucas, which is why she's drawn to him and so desperately wants to help him. And it's not like super arduous slow burn, but it does take its time. I will definitely give it that. As you mentioned, Cecil, it's like it's kind of setting some things up and you're not necessarily sure where it's going with it, and you're like wondering if it's going to be almost like a bait and switch, but it's not. It's very satisfying. The finale is maybe one of the only things I would criticize just a slight bit without spoiling anything. But aside from that, I was just glued throughout. I was very engaged. I was not bored at all. So
I would agree with your statement about the finale. It's in my opinion, again without spoiling, wrapped up a little too quickly. But I will also touch on something that I noticed in the film that has to do with the script, which is obviously related to story. And they had to do, at least some that I definitely noticed, some behind-the-back ADR of characters in order to explain some things for the audience. So what I was going to credit the movie for is its visual storytelling, right?
Yeah.
At one point, Carrie Russell goes into a convenience store and she's picking up some stuff, and you just see her gaze drift to the alcohol bottles, and then the camera drifts over, and then she drifts back, and then she grabs some gum and leaves. So okay, clearly visually it's telling us that she has a drinking issue, and I was like, awesome, that is the epitome of showing, not telling, right? Otherwise she'd be like, I'm going to my AA meeting or something like that.
Yeah.
So but the dialogue, the behind the back dialogue, there was one especially clumsy line I felt like at the very beginning in the opening scene, when the dad tells the kid to wait in the truck and he's going back inside, and with his back turned, he's like, we're gonna go pick up your brother Lucas after this. Yeah. And it's like, why would you say, you would just say we're gonna go pick up your brother, or we're gonna go pick up Lucas after this. That's literally, you're saying both for the audience. Yeah. And then boom, the next scene we're introduced to Lucas. And it's like,
3 weeks
you
later,
don't need to do that, so there was some clumsy behind the back dialogue, but on the coin flip of it, there's a lot of really good visual storytelling as well. So had to make that point. Getting into the acting, I thought everyone did a great job. I especially like the brother. He's an actor that he's been in a ton of stuff.
He always plays a cop too.
Yeah, well, but he's moving up in the world, man. I think he was in a Fargo season. He's also getting into big movies now. I think he's in like a Scorsese movie coming up or something like that.
He's in the Judas and the Black Messiah movie.
He's definitely a familiar face.
Yeah, but he's awesome. He's a great actor and complimented Carrie Russell well as the brother. The kid did a great job. Both the kids did a great job, honestly. And the man, the crazy man.
Lots of physical acting.
Lots of physical acting, but it was definitely scary. So yeah, I thought the acting was tremendous throughout.
Absolutely. But again, our shining star is the kid who played Lucas.
Very much.
Was he was our focal point of the story and whatnot, or of the movie. But he carried it really well. But even with Carrie Russell, since she was our kind of a semi-main character as well, but also supporting. But those two I think stood out the best. I will definitely again credit with like the father and whatnot with his articulation with the acting and stuff like that. But man, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. Like cut back to the transition into whatever.
They
So-
showed that a bit. But it was a very
yeah.
brief bit. Yeah.
Exactly, and it was at this point of it was already so far gone. Granted, we were 3 weeks jumped in from the
Inciting incident.
yes, that's what yeah. So it was 3 weeks from there.
Yeah, I have to double down on Lucas. This kid, he epitomized in essences of abuse where there is like you could feel his anguish and his agony, but yet the loyalty at the same time, and just still desperately hoping that he can help a situation that seems very, very far gone. And I just, as somebody who was also bullied when I was younger, the bullies were effective. And that goddamn ginger kid, man, it's always these evil ginger kids and stuff. So they were effective as well, even though we don't get tons and tons with them. All of the school stuff did not feel just heavy-handed. It felt natural from everybody involved, and including the kind of stuff with the principal too, who's also just acting like, well, it's not really that much of my problem, just like the same attitude we got from the brother, you know. It's like, well, what am I supposed to do? And so all of them were very convincing in that whole societal neglect and overlooking and just turning a blind eye sort of thing, as I mentioned. So I wish we could have got a little bit more from the older Native American guy. But aside from that, I mean, it's really one of my only gripes. And that was more so a scripting thing of just not having him as involved as I would have liked.
Honestly, I feel like it was a good move not having him involved throughout, because then you're just poltergeist. Or, you know what I mean? Like, where you have to have that MacGuffin, that guy that's constantly helping to push the plot forward.
He was
with
there
the
just
just
enough to serve the purpose of the story to get us where we needed to go.
Yeah, they didn't overuse him. I mean, that is kind of the only tropey thing about the film. I mean, as far as them having to go to a native of something to get the information they need.
I just like him as an actor, so that's why.
No, I know.
Selfish.
Again, I'm just pointing out some tropes that we've seen before, but I'm not saying it detracts from the movie. It serves it well enough for what they're doing. So, getting into the actual filmmaking, I thought it was presented amazingly. It was really gorgeous, and what I will say is it used darkness very, very well.
Indeed.
There's, especially in the beginning with the guy,
tunnels.
the guy just using the flare to light the way through the tunnels, and there's no false Hollywood lighting, like hidden light sources where like there would be no light sources in a mine.
Exactly.
So literally the camera is sitting there in the dark until he enters with the flare and goes all the way past and stuff.
Yeah, and
I love when filmmakers let that happen.
It amplified the feeling of dread, you know? I mean, I was actually seated like this for a lot of the movie, you know, for so many
Especially
of the
with
scenes.
the sound design for the creature and things like that,
Yes,
and like
good point.
the like snapping of the bones during what attack scenes we have, and like that,
And just the sounds it made in the distance.
well, exactly.
where
Well,
you
yeah,
knew it was close
yeah.
by.
Well, it's cool because it has a range, right? It's very, very, very inhuman, but it's also almost inanimal because it doesn't sound quite like anything that we've heard before. There's like weird chirping yelps, like you know, that kind of thing, all the way down to guttural, you know, like kind of stuff, and it runs the gamut. And I
definitely
think
like the
it makes it
utilization
awesome.
of like the elk.
Yeah.
In the voicing.
Yeah,
Of the creature and
yeah.
stuff like that. Like
it does have that sort of the elk calls and stuff like that to aspect to it.
Yep.
It definitely has a feel like the T-Rex roar, where you can tell they might have combined elements of
absolutely.
other animals,
Yep.
but they did it in such an almost symphonic way for the creature. I thought that was fantastic.
Because it was all wrapped around basically almost like a humanoid scream.
Yeah, but it's almost like a discordant harmony where you have multiple noises coming together to make something distinctive and different and even scarier, in all honesty. But the look of this film was tremendous. Scott Cooper directed the hell out of it, and his cinematographer, just the framing of so much, like where they're walking through that huge, almost like tunnel type area, the one that was outdoors, where the kid is just kind of moseying around, and all of the scenery was just breathtaking, and the fact that it's overcast and gloomy because it's the Northwest, and everything takes place in Oregon, and I'm not sure if they filmed it in Oregon or somewhere further up north in Canada, but
I would almost say like probably Washington area, if anything.
Well, they said it takes place in Oregon, right? But I mean, they could have filmed anywhere in the Northwest. There's just something gloomy and dreary about that area, and the fact that there's these old abandoned mining operations and all of the forestry and stuff like it. That just once again also amplified things for me too about just being a little scarier. So,
And again, I think this film is tremendous at utilizing the visual storytelling. I mean, one scene in particular, again, I won't ruin exactly the thing about it, but I know both Fuego and I felt like super heavy, where the kid is walking on the pebbly shore, he sees something, and then the camera cuts to a close-up shot of a giant black rock, and his hands reach down and pick up the rock, and it follows up to his face, and then it cuts to another scene, and you know.
And I think both you
what
and I were
happened.
just
Yeah,
like,
we were just like, oh. I mean, and that's just that it gets across not only the storytelling, it gets across tonality, like the dark tone. I mean, it's just really, it is such a masterclass in actual filmmaking.
Especially when you find out the reason of why he's doing all that and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And also his drawings I thought were hella creepy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Everything, like all the details went into building the story. And that's the nice thing. You could take in the details of the film and be like, oh, that means this. Oh, that means that. And that happens a number of times. And I really, really like that about this film.
Indeed.
So moving into, I mean, you covered the sound design. I thought the music also was great. It was utilized well. It wasn't overdone. Like, it wasn't underscoring a ton of conversations to hide bad sound mixes or anything like that. Like, the music came up for scene transitions and stuff like that, and otherwise it was largely absent from a lot of what was going on because they allowed the environment to speak volumes.
Exactly. When it needed to be silent, it was silent.
Or just like a little minimalistic piano sort of stuff. Where it
Exactly.
wasn't like an overwrought, like cheesy, cliched kind of score or anything, you know.
So let's finally get into the effects. I mean, that's the big daddy for this one, I feel like. It's a creature movie, and it's an evolution of a creature movie as well. So I'm not going to say more than that, lest we get into spoilerific territory, but the design on all aspects I thought was awesome, and I thought was definitely scary and something I would like to see more of. One of the people that came out of the theater, I heard tell the Patrick that they felt they showed the creature too much towards the end. I disagree. I thought it was just the perfect amount, and I would like to probably have seen it more, but that's just because I love seeing creatures in creature movies.
I'm there with you.
Exactly. I would like from at least with our cut for the trailer, I was expecting to have a little bit more of the creature action, especially in the third act. But it was again what the creature movies are supposed to be and what they were is you get small glimpses in the beginning, you get sounds and tones, and then you get short little glimpses, and then at the final big show or whatever, that's when you finally see your creature. But you get nice, good establishing shots of it and whatnot. I would have liked a little bit more practical effect on this versus some of the CG.
There was definitely a good amount of CG, especially in that last.
But I didn't think it looked bad though.
No, it didn't necessarily look bad
But
because
they did mix with practical. There was
Yeah.
a
It
hefty
was-
amount of practical, especially one attack in particular that I felt was almost the most badass attack of the whole movie.
oh that
I was
one.
like, yeah,
That
let's
actually
go.
made me kind of jump a little
Yeah,
bit.
me too.
That one, yeah. They paced it out just enough where it got to the point of the anticipation.
Yeah. Anticipation.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I had a little stutter on that.
No, it's also from a song.
Leave it alone.
well, and also just like when you start to get kind of big glimpses of this transformation sort of thing that's going on, really effective for me there too.
It was cool, and I was not expecting that type of creature transformation, especially from like that from the folklore and everything of it.
Yeah, and I also liked when you finally start to kind of see what this thing is. It's still like lots of silhouettes and fog and things like that. So it doesn't like blow its wad all at once in the third act. You get the glimpses, and you get like quick attack kind of stuff, like the one that happens in the woods in broad daylight and stuff, where it pounces down.
But they utilize the sounds of the creature very well, and that's where I think it especially shines.
Yeah.
And no one is safe. I mean, no matter what age, race, or gender.
Yeah.
There is no one is safe.
I wish
all bets are
okay.
off.
On that note, though, I wish it was a little bit more people were not as safe.
I agree. If the numbers had been higher, it'd be fine. But ultimately, it kind of would have turned it into something a little bit different, though. It would have definitely extended runtime a little bit unnecessarily when it was already. I mean, it's an hour 40, so it's not a long movie, but I feel like it was the right length. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no.
Agreed.
There was only so much where you could expand on this.
Mm-hmm.
So the was hour
40.
Hour 40. Yeah, that
99 minutes.
it was a great length of expansion on from the short story.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for our thoughts on Antlers, you guys. Definitely worth your time.
Yeah.
I think it's worth a trip to the theater if you
Really
feel safe
dug it.
for it, but
Yeah.
I definitely know it's worth your time no matter when or how you watch it.
October 29th in theaters. Only in theaters.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So make sure you get out and go see it if you feel safe to do so. It's worth your time. It's worth your money. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed the review, click that like button and hit the subscribe button if you don't mind. Ding that notification bell if you don't want to miss all of our reviews going forward. So this review is going up this week, which means next week I should be able to focus on Last Night in Soho, and there's another one on the 29th as well, besides this one and that one.
Gosh, I think it might be something that's just going right to a streaming.
I know there's
service, but
Army
I
of
can't
Thieves.
remember.
The
Oh
Zack
yeah,
Snyder one.
not true. Although we're not
I don't
sure
know if
how
we're gonna
zombie
cover
Oh,
that.
is
Yeah.
that one?
There's no zombies in it. Well, at least it's a prequel, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
So we'll
That'll
find
probably
out.
be a
Maybe
review
we'll cover
roundup, I
that.
think.
It might be review roundup. But anyway, all of that stuff coming in the very near future. We are going to continue our Chucky reviews as well. So stay tuned for those. We have 10 episodes of the Chucky series.
Oh, was it 10?
Yeah, apparently
Yep, it
so.
is 10.
Oh, cool.
That's what we found out.
Cool.
So thank you guys again. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Roll man.
And gracias. I mean, fuego.
Thank you to all of our patrons. We
Damn
greatly
reason.
appreciate all of your support. And remember, stay scared.